Hello and welcome. And this is our second onboarding for the Lifeboat Academy. And today we are going to focus on Asana, which is a project management, task management tool that we've been using for many years. And it has a lot of capabilities, only some of which we use. So today I'm only going to go over the things that we actually use regularly and just kind of give you an orientation to how it works. And hopefully you can see on my screen, I basically have the notes that I'm going to try to cover on the left-hand side. And I have invited friends at Lifeboat.academy as a new account onto Asana. So we're going to go right through what happens. When you show up, or when you're invited to Asana, you're going to receive an email like this. And all you need to do is accept the invite and continue signing up. And we have our two phantom workers here, Ebb and Flo. And Ebb Gardner is going to be, let's just see. Ah. All right. So this is what the screen looks like when you first join. And so just to orient, there is the hamburger menu on the upper left-hand corner, and that hides or displays the side column here. And then there is a little dot, and if you have a picture, your picture will show up over here in the upper right-hand side, and that's where you access things like your settings. And so I'm going to start by going over some of the settings that can be really useful. One is your notifications. And in particular, you can make choices about whether you want to get email notifications. You can also get Slack notifications, and we use Slack. So if you have a Slack account, you can also get your notifications that way. But with the email notifications, conceivably, you can interact with Asana without ever going into Asana. You can just sign up in such a way that anything that you need to know will get emailed to you. And when you answer the email, everything gets updated in Asana. So if you don't want to learn a new app and you want to stay just focused on the email, you can do that. You're going to start off by getting emails, notifications about all your activity. And you can choose daily and weekly summaries. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that Ebb wants to work in the app, which I highly recommend. It's actually a very, very useful app to be working in. So you can check your notification settings and set up your email the way you want. You can also choose what kinds of things you want to get notifications about. And if you want to get notifications on your computer, Slack, etc. You can also do this handy thing. If you click on email forwarding, you can automatically create tasks in Asana without going into Asana. And basically by emailing x@mail.asana.com, you're going to create a task with each email that you send. The subject line becomes the task name. The body of the email ends up in the description. Any attachments that you have in the email get attached to the task, and any CCs that you include on the email get added as collaborators. So again, if you want to, you can set up Asana in such a way that you don't even have to go into the app. You can just work with it through email. Most of the other things are less useful, like the display. You can change the colors and the fonts and things like that. But really, the notifications and the email forwarding are the two that you probably want to check out. And of course, you can flesh out your profile, just add any kind of information in here that might be useful. So that is under, yep, under the settings. And the next thing is the hamburger menu and the things that are normally on the left-hand column. Your home screen, you can customize it a whole bunch of different ways. Again, that's only if you want to get into using Asana for other things other than what we do here at the Lifeboat Academy. But generally what you're going to see when you come to the home page is one widget that has the tasks that you've been assigned, and the other widget that lists the projects that you're involved in. So that's your home tab. And then the My Tasks is really just this My Task box expanded. And in that you can use, these are called section headings. You can organize your tasks any way you want. And one of the things that's really nice is the tasks are all drag and drop. So you can just move things around wherever you want to into a different section, if I can find that there. So you can just grab the little 6 dots on the left-hand side and then hold your mouse down and move tasks wherever you want. So it's really easy to put a bunch of tasks in and then order them from high priority to low priority, or however you want to do it. The other at the top of the list box is your inbox. And the inbox is set up in such a way that any new information lands in your inbox. So if you were assigned a new task, if you were invited to a new project, if one of the tasks that you were following had an update, it would show up here in your inbox. And you can respond to it right from the inbox. So if you click on the message, you can see this is the first invitation because it's the main project in the team. So when you click on the message, actually, I think I might try to assign a task to myself so you can see what a task message looks like. But it's really easy to mark it as read. You just click the little box and that archives it. On other messages, I'll show you when we get to the tasks themselves. Usually there's a blank thumbs up. So a really good practice to get into is to just click the thumbs up when you've seen something that you want to, that you've letting other people know that you've seen it and that you agree. Or you can also respond in the comments. So now those are the sort of the 3 standard things that are going to show up. Most of the work that we do is actually in the projects. And I'm going to just briefly, I'm going to pause the recording and I'm going to invite Eb to a couple other projects just so we can see what that looks like. So I'm just going to pause the recording here. All right, so we're back and I just invited Eb to a couple different projects. And so this actually will give us a chance to see what happens in the inbox. You can see that the invitations come in the inbox and it lets you know, here's the project. You can go and click on that project and directly from the inbox takes you right to the project itself. And you'll also notice that the project then shows up under the projects list here. And so there are a number of projects that we use really, actually, let me pause there just to check, Linda. Do you have any questions so far? It's really just the orienting around the screen before we get into how to actually work with the tasks.
That was my main question, was how are you actually using this? Like, when would I ever avail myself of this?
Yeah, all right. Good question. And the we use the tasks a lot for meeting agendas and to organize the tasks that are associated with each of the guilds. thought I invited myself to one of the guilds. I might have to do that as well. Um, but in each of the projects, when you click on it, across the top, you'll notice that there are a number of different views available. There's the overview, which is a very useful way of orienting yourself to what's going on in the project. So the overview starts with a how to use this board, how to use this project. And we have, I believe, included how-to guides for each of the projects. So you can actually go through and read for yourself how we are using the project. So for example, the sprint board, this is where we do our weekly planning. So the sprint board is really supposed to be the stuff that is currently in process that we are working on actively. I'll go over to the list view in a second. Actually, I'll go and show that to you now. So in the list view, there are sections. We've got two sections at the top where we basically it's the coordination circle agenda or our daily huddle agendas. So there's a sort of a how-to guide in each of those where this is our agenda when we do our huddle. We start with the grounding and purpose. We review our mantra. We do a once around where everyone has a chance to check in and see if there's any topics to bring up. And then we review the new business updated, and that's updates needed. That's this section. And then we update the pick list, which are the tasks that are currently active. And
Is,
again,
is this huddle part of the coordination committee work or?
no, so the huddle is a daily stand-up meeting. So it's a quick, usually less than 15 minutes of who's doing what and does anyone need help with anything. So it's a daily, usually farm-oriented
Got it.
meeting. And then weekly, we have our coordination circle, and that's more kind of laying out the strategy for the week.
Gotcha.
And then again, remember if you click on the overview, it goes through and it tells what each of the sections are for, how we use the new business, the pick list, et cetera, et cetera. So you can read that. And there's also the opportunity to do updates on the projects. And those will show up in the activity feed. So when we do an update, it basically, oh, there's Pamela. It gives you an opportunity to sort of see progress over time.
Hmm.
So, and that's the activity stream that goes down on the right-hand side for the overview. Most of the work then, so the overview is really how to orient yourself to the different projects and how we're using those boards. And then most of the work happens in the list view. Again, Asana offers all of these others. There's a timeline and a Kanban board and blah, 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 blah. We don't use hardly any of them. So I want to point out as you're working in the list view, you can customize how you see things on your own. This is the way we have it set up as a sort of standard view, but you can go in and click on the hide button and you can turn off any fields that just aren't interesting to you, or turn on any if they are interesting to you, but you can simplify the view. You can also choose to sort it by nearest due date or by who the assignee is, et cetera, et cetera. So you can play around with it, but what we generally do is leave it in this section view, and most of the work then is the notes occur in the tasks themselves, right? And when you look at, so there's a couple things to note. There are tasks and milestones. They're basically the same thing. So Farm Guild First Meeting Agenda is a task, and you can tell because it has a round symbol. And limbing and trail clearing is a milestone, and it has a little shield symbol, a little diamond. and they function almost identically, except that the milestones have a sort of more important status. It's just a way of indicating that it's a bigger project. And
Mm.
the way that you change that is when you click on any of the tasks, you can either collapse or expand the detail pane. So if you're in this list view, if you just
Mhm.
click on the little caret to the right-hand side of the name of the task, it opens up this detail pane. And at the top of the detail pane, you'll see there's a little menu of options up here. Obviously, you can mark something complete, and you can click it on. And if you didn't want it to be complete, you can click it off. You can also thumbs up it, and that just like indicates that you're in agreement, you're following along. You can copy the link to the task and you can paste that in an email anywhere, and it will bring people directly to that. You can use it in Slack. Um, and you can also, if you use the little three dots, the more button, you can duplicate a task if there's something that's handy that repeats, or you can mark it as a milestone or not. And you can also delete it if you've created a task that is not relevant or useful. There's also, then if we just go down the list, there are exactly the kinds of fields that you would expect. There is an assignee where you can click anybody who is in our system. Anyone can assign anyone a task, but then that doesn't mean they have to accept it. But you can, usually we do this in meetings, and it's somebody will agree to take on a task. And then, if I've agreed to do this, then you just click my name and now it's assigned to me. And then it will show up in my tasks. And due dates, we don't often have due dates. We usually work as we can through things. But we can, if there's something that absolutely does have a due date, then you can use that. And where we use that most often is for ongoing meeting. We use tasks as our meeting agenda. And then when you set the date, you can set it as a recurring task, and you can complete it. Once you click mark complete, it will generate a new copy of that task. So when we finish the coordination circle meeting, we click this done, it generates a new one a week in the future. So we just had our coordination meeting yesterday. This is set to be due next Monday when we have our next meeting. So it becomes a really easy way of doing ongoing meeting agendas. You also can assign any task to multiple projects, which can be really useful if something is relevant to more than one guild. Each guild has its own project. And so you can see in the details, you can just add to the project, and then you'll see a list of all of the different projects that we have going. So if we wanted to, right now, this is part of the limbing and trail clearing as part of the farm food and housing guild. But if we, for some reason, we said, oh, and outreach is going to work on it as well because we're having a big work party and they're going to be inviting people, you can just click outreach and you can see it just gets added to the list of projects that this will show up in. The next up is the description area. And again, there are a lot of individual detail-y things that you don't need to know at this point. In fact, probably these don't even need to be showing up here. But in the description, we use that a lot because if it is an action item task, then we will try to capture any notes and descriptions about expectations. What is it that we actually think we're doing? Did we talk about this in some other place, and are there notes there? And likewise, you can do this really handy function, which is the @ sign. You can use @ plus a name, and that will include a link directly in the comment. You can also use @ with any task name. So You can reference that in the description, or you can use with a project name. And then these are live links that are available through the description. And if you just click on it, it'll take you directly to that related task or idea. One of the ways that we use this a lot is linking notes from earlier meetings to later meetings. Actually, I can show you. So for the coordination circle meeting, the first thing in the description is a link to the last time we did the meeting. So if you want to know what the notes are from the last meeting, you can just click here. It will take you back to the things that we talked about the last time.
Very cool.
Yeah, the at stuff is some of the neatest functionality in here. And like I said, we make copious use of the descriptions to capture a lot of times if we have a task that we're developing that we're not sure exactly what we're going to do, we'll do gathering considerations, and we would just say add considerations in the description, and then as we're going through the circle, we'll just transcribe, point by point, what are the considerations? It's always there as part of the permanent record around the task. And then usually in that case, we would also have an agreement at the bottom where we can talk it through. People get a background of what we talked about. And then at the bottom, here's what we're agreeing to do. So it becomes a really nice way of keeping all the conversation together with the task at hand. The other thing that you can do here, it's hard to, I think I have to play with my screen a little bit because my Zoom is in the way. At the bottom under the comments, I can't, let me show you. There we go. So at the very bottom on the detail pane, there are collaborators, and you can add anyone on the list into the collaborator. And what that means is that if there are any changes, any comments, any change in status, those collaborators will get a notice in their inbox. And so a lot of times if more than one person is interested in or responsible for a task, you indicate it in the collaborators. And then the last thing is commenting. And so we use the description field a lot. That's where we capture notes. And then the comments we also use, and that's where there are the sort of ongoing discussions. Say, for example, I was assigned this task. It seemed really clear. And then when I went out to do it, I'm missing something that I need to be able to do the task. And say, I thought, Linda, I think you know where this thing is. I could just at Linda and send you a message right through
How did
Asana. And
how did you pull down how did you pull down my name again? Where did you go to get that?
it's the
Ah,
at sign.
yeah.
But you can also do it just by typing the at sign. And then when I type the B for Ben, it's going to bring up anybody whose name starts with B,
I see.
and you
Okay.
can just pick from the list.
Okay.
One other thing, or two other things that we use in the sort of what do they call them? Customized variables. I don't know why these are showing up, but we have used in the past the sprint priority and the Kanban, but we don't really use, and the bucket, but we don't use them anymore. But we do use the guild. So just like you can assign a task to a project, you can also indicate all of the guilds that are relevant to the task. And that just becomes a really easy way of searching. You can search for tasks that way. So you can indicate which guild is responsible. And then the other thing are dependencies. And again, this is something we have used in the past and we probably will use again in the future. But if there is, for example, when we do the newsletter, one of the subtasks is for someone to edit the newsletter, which of course can't be done until the letter is drafted. So what you can do is add a blocked by in the editing, blocked by draft. And so that task basically is kind of hidden until the preceding tasks are done. And once that task is done, it becomes sort of it pops up. It brings your attention to the fact that it's unblocked by a previously completed task. So I believe that's it in terms of, yeah, going over the elements. I'll make this bigger again. That's the elements of the task. Oh, actually, no, the one other thing too are subtasks. And so any task can have subtasks or a milestone. There are a number of ways that you can add subtasks. You can click on this little icon up here. Looks like two little dots in a kind of an outline mode.
Hmm.
You can actually click on the add a subtask at the bottom of the details pane.
Mhm.
And you can also take a task and it's always a little bit challenging. So when you have one task up in the details section, you can take one of the other tasks and actually drag it in to the subtask. This doesn't belong here, so I'm not going to drop it, but you could just drop it in as a subtask.
Mm.
So again, all of the tasks have drag and drop functionality. And so you can move subtasks from you can move it out of one task and into another task. And subtasks can have subtasks. So if you want to, you can break a big thing down. The one that we've been looking at, limbing and trail clearing, this is a really big task. We do a little bit at a time. And as we're doing it, there may be some subtasks that develop, cleaning up some piles, working in a particular area. So we use this as kind of a placeholder task where the subtasks then become the details. And so the subtasks is a really, really handy feature. So are there any questions on the tasks or the details that are available?
Well, it's going to take me a while. I mean, I won't really learn it till I start using it, but this is a good overview.
Mhm.
How is this different? Slack, you're using Slack then as your main messaging platform, and this is more of kind of how you're organizing projects and tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We think of Slack as our walkie-talkie.
yeah,
So it's really where it's the in the minute, you know, hey, does anyone know why there's somebody at the front gate?
right.
Oh, look, the goats are doing something. I need a hand at the chickens, that sort of thing. And then Asana is where we keep track of who said they're going to do what, and how
Right.
do we know what tasks are, up.
Got it.
Pamela,
Yeah, hi. I'm so sorry that I missed the bulk of this introduction. I was looking forward to it and then I couldn't get on. But anyway, here I am. And even the little bit that I did listen to, helps to give me a better sense of how this can work. And just an aside with the Slack, is there, in order to join the Slack group, do you send out an invitation? Because I am on Slack and I am familiar with that program.
mhm.
And so I'd like to, as soon as it's open for participation, join in on that.
Yeah, you can get on Slack two different ways. You can request and we'll send you an invite. And there is also a standing link that we have published in a couple different places where you can click on it and that will automatically take you into the Slack channel.
Is that on the website?
I don't think it's on the website, but it is on our digital onboarding level 1. So it's a document, but I can We can actually add it to, I wonder if we want to add it to the website. Anyhow,
If
if
you
you
want,
send us an email, that's the easiest thing is just say, hey, add me to the Slack, and then we can just type, and you don't even have to, I will add you into Slack.
oh,
So
okay, sure.
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And yeah, it seems like a very powerful tool, the Asana. Um, I'm glad that I didn't miss all of it. Yeah,
Yeah. And we can, after we stop the recording, I can go back and cover some of the earlier stuff, Pam.
that was the
So
question I was going to ask is it recorded? In which case, then I can catch up with that
yeah,
on the recording.
yeah, it is. We are recording even as we speak.
Lovely. Love to have
So
my gaps on record.
the one last thing that I want to cover are uh the boards that we use most, and there's one missing. I'm going to pause the recording again, and I'm going to be right back. All right, we're back, and you may have noticed that a new project popped up in Eb's list. So basically, we have our sprint board, our tension hopper. The sprint board is the one that we're looking at, and that is our main workhorse. That's the project where we combine what are people currently working on the in the Lifeboat Academy. So that's where we do most of our work. We also have a tension hopper, which is part of sociocracy, so that anytime a tension is noted, we capture it and we put it in the hopper, and that's what we use our hive mind for. Sometimes tensions are related to a specific guild, and then they're handed to that guild to work through the tension. And sometimes the tension involves more than one guild or is a kind of organizational level issue. And then that's what we use the hive mind for. So the sprint board is sort of for work that's currently in progress. The tension hopper is they call it in sociocracy, they call it a backlog of some of the issues and tensions that we need to work through. But the sprint board is more task oriented, who's going to do what. And the tensions are more, we need to talk about, explore, figure out what we're going to do. So it's kind of pre-action level work. And we also have then a project for each of the guilds. So the sprint board is where the coordination happens, but then each guild has its own project page, and they're all set up in the same way. So there's an inbox. So if anything gets sent to one of the guilds, it'll show up in the inbox. If a new task comes up or a new question, a new tension, it'll come into the inbox. We also have a list of the lifeboat goals that that guild is responsible for, just to kind of keep it front and center so people know long-term, what are we actually here doing? There's a section for meeting notes, and Pam, this might be before you came on board, but we use recurring tasks to do our meeting agendas. And then we use subtasks for the sort of agenda items. So it makes it easy to talk through things, figure out when we're done with that conversation, and have a record of it. And then below that, it's just like in the sprint board, you can have the big projects that we're working on and the specific action items that are coming out from those big projects. And then there's the tension hopper for each of the guilds. So these are specific tensions that really, in this case, we're looking at the Principles and Governance Guild. And this is stuff that if Principles and Governance figures it out, no other guilds really are involved in it. So it's just for them to sort out. And then the on deck is the other duties as required, the miscellaneous, the maybe not right now stuff that, a holding bin that goes at the bottom. So each guild then has its own project that helps to organize the work in the guild. And then that work is sort of when it's current and active, then it goes on to the sprint board so that we know who's working on what.
So Ben, are the documents that are created all contained within the Asana application or platform itself?
No, but you can link to the documents quite easily. So on
Do you
any of the
use
tabs,
Google Docs?
yeah,
Okay. So you can use, they integrate.
Yeah, they
Okay.
integrate quite well. So that's actually one of the things. You can either attach a Google Doc as an attachment, or if you have the link from the doc, you can just put it right in the description. I wonder if we have, trying to think of where we have a document that is, I knew where. We also use Asana as our onboarding. So, or, as our kind of standing onboarding template. And so we have the sections set up where there's sort of the level one, the different guilds, level two, level three. And then we actually link. So in the getting to know you conversation, we have a Google Doc that has some standard questions that we ask. And that link is right there in the description. So, and that's what we try to do. If somebody new comes on board, we duplicate this project, and instead of onboarding person, it becomes onboarding Linda. And then as we go through the documents, we can, all right, hey, here we are. I'm going to click on this, and we can go through these questions together, check that it's done, and then we know what onboarding everybody has gone through so far and the materials that you need. So going over the driver statement, that's a link to the driver statement or the Prezi. So that's also one of the things that makes it really nice for Asana. And the same for a task. If say, for example, we were developing a new page for the website, and we have a task about developing that page for the website, we can actually have the link to it right there. And we can have then the ongoing conversation notes in the comments. So it's all in one place. Does that answer the question?
And is this contained only on one? I'm wondering with who owns this? Is this with as far as access? Is this with the Lifeboat Academy, like you and maybe two other people who have ownership of the structural items? And then people plug into them, like people like myself would then come in and have access to a restricted, you kind of get where I'm going?
I can. I'll answer it in terms of access, because ownership,
Access, yeah.
ownership, I'm not actually sure how that's an interesting question, like who owns the content. But everyone can sign up for their own Asana account, and you can have a free account. So you could have your own projects in that account, and give permission to some people, or not to everyone. So you can see at the sprint board, when we go to the project itself, you can see who has access to this project in the upper corner here. The same for the tasks. You can actually make a task. You can give people permission to the tasks in a project unless they're private. And you can actually mark some tasks as private within a project. So there's a quite robust granular control about who has access to which project or which task. We operate with the principle of transparency. So generally we're just everybody has access to everything, unless there's a real compelling reason why we should try to, mask who has access to it. So, and you can invite other people to have access to a task that somebody else created. So unless they blocked that ability. So it's you can turn that on or turn that off. We currently have it set so that you can share things with other people. So I think that's basically what I wanted to cover. Actually, no, one other feature. So there are teams, and we only have 2 teams in the Lifeboat Academy. If you click on the team, you can see we've got the sprint board, the tension hopper, and then one project for each of the guilds, and then our roadmap. I guess I didn't mention the roadmap. So the roadmap is where we identify all of the long-term high-level goals that we're working on. And the expectation is as we start to work through those goals, there will be a series of subtasks related to making them happen so that we'll have basically a paper trail of the work that has gone into making getting these goals done. And anyhow, so those are once you're on a team, so this is Eb is we're looking at Eb's inbox here, or Eb's Asana. He's on the Lifeboat Academy team, so he can have access to all of these projects because they're all public. We could make some of them private, but we haven't. And then there's one other team, which is the onboarding person team. It's just onboarding. And we do that so that everyone can have their own individual onboarding, and it keeps the other projects kind of tidy. So that there's just a whole swarm of onboarding for all the different people. All right, I think that is everything, unless there are questions or anything that people want to talk about, ask about. Linda?
Well, like the onboarding thing, I mean, I'm never going to use that. That's something that you're using because you're
Yeah,
kind of in control of the onboarding process.
right.
Um, I didn't quite get the teams. So who's on the Lifeboat Academy team? And
All these
that,
people.
that that's everybody that's associated with the Lifeboat Academy.
And have requested access to Asana. So there are some people that you can see, actually there's a couple people we've invited and they didn't take the invitation. So these are a couple people that have expressed an interest but haven't clicked, accept. But then everyone else are people that have accepted our invitations.
Okay, so I am there. Okay, I
You are
see.
there. Yeah.
Okay, so if I just wanted to know, you know, names of people who are involved with the Lifeboat Academy, I would go there to the team. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a smaller list. I mean, there's more people associated with the Lifeboat Academy than have signed on to Asana. But that's kind of the more core group of people who are interested in taking on tasks.
Now, I'm a little confused. Why do you have a separate principles in government project?
Each guild has its own project, and it just means that allows the guild to have its own workspace. So, for example, what we've been doing is at the guild meeting, we start here in the project. And that means that we can look at whatever tasks we have on our list. We don't have to worry about we don't have to filter out the tasks of other guilds that aren't going to be relevant to what we're talking about. So, and that's the important thing to note, is that project or tasks can be in more than one project. So that's a really handy feature, because it's the same task. Any comments on it, any progress on it, any attachments are available no matter how you access that task, but it can show up on the sprint board. It can show up on the roadmap, the long-term plan, can show up in more than one guild. So everyone's accessing what they need, but only seeing what they need. So
Well,
it's almost like a filtering device.
I guess I was just wondering why, like, the other guilds aren't up there under projects. Don't any
They
of the
are.
other,
They each have one. Yeah. So this is the Lifeboat Academy project list. So Heartwork, Principles, Finance, Farm, and Outreach all have their own projects.
okay, and I just
Oh,
didn't,
so what you're noticing here is,
yeah.
so we're looking at Eb's Asana,
Oh,
and
I'm
Eb
sorry.
has only joined
I
Principles and
see.
Governance.
Gotcha. So if I,
So,
okay,
you
gotcha.
know, and likewise, oh, that's another thing too to note is on any of these projects, if you come in at the top, there's a little drawdown caret, and you can set some of the, oh, wait a second. I thought there was a way that you could leave. Where am I not seeing it? I'm not sure why. On mine, it shows up if I'm in a project, I can leave the project. So I can sort of unfollow it. And then I won't get notices or anything about that project. So, say you started off and you were interested in 2 or 3 guilds because you weren't sure really where you wanted to focus, and then you decide one guild's not for you. So you could just leave, you could take yourself off that project, and then your inbox isn't muddied with things that aren't relevant to you.
So if I went into my my inbox, or my project area,
Mhm.
I would see the 3 I signed up for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you didn't, then you can also just join. If you click on the team, if you're on the team, and you are, so if you're once you're on the team, you can click on any of the projects and it will automatically add it to your list.
Okay.
And
Cool.
again, that is a setting you can set them so that they're invitation only, so that somebody can click on it and then they have to be approved by the admin. We have it set to automatically accept. So that's just a permission setting that could be changed if we found a reason that we wanted to do that. Right now we're small enough, and we have we don't have a huge number of people trying to get into our Asana. So we just try to make it as easy as possible.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions? Or Pam, have any questions or comments?
Well, I was distracting myself with trying to simply sign into Asana, and I had done before, and I'm not able to at the moment. They want me to fill in the form again. Is
Hmm.
there a shortcut to the Lifeboat Asana to get into it? I had been in, but I closed the tab, and now I don't know how to.
Yeah, let me actually I'm not going to do again, let me pause the recording just so I can move screens around.
Sure. Is there a cost to it, or is it free?
There's not a cost to you. We have a bit of a cost because we have some enhanced features that we use, but it's kind of on a per seat thing, and we only need to pay for the seats that use those. So, Pam, I am clicking into the chat the link that is the invite to Asana. So that's just a standard that I think it should be a permanent link that you can just click and get invited onto the team.
It tells me I don't have an emotusoperandi.com email address.
No, you don't, but that shouldn't matter.
I'm going to continue and see what that does. No. It's funny how they always like to throw a curve in. By the
Yeah.
way, nice to see you, Linda.
Yeah, good to see you too.
So are there any other questions, comments?
Not from me.
Again, for most people, the most common way that you're going to interact with Asana is at one of our meetings where we're using Asana as our agenda. That's probably going to be the biggest interaction that you have. And beyond that, then as you get more involved, it's handier to and if you're going to be a guild caretaker, then you probably want to have that functionality so that you can go in and manage the tasks for the guild. But generally speaking, yeah, you can just watch and ride along.
Gotcha. All right. Well, this was very good.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna say thank you for coming, and I'm gonna stop our recording. And again, we'll post this to YouTube. And everything that we post, we also should have instructions written out on our help desk. So you can get to the help desk from our website, lifeboat.academy. In the lower right-hand corner of every page, there'll be a help button. And also, we'll post the YouTube. And if you have any questions, you can always sign up for a one-on-one office time, and we can walk through any specific challenges you might have, which also goes for anybody who might be watching this video. Just sign up for a one-on-one time, and we can walk through and answer any specific questions about why is it not letting me log in and demanding that I have an Emotus email. etc.
Okay.
So I think that's good for now.